Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. So those of you who have been following along for my quest for the naturally aspirated 12s with the Coupe here. Yesterday was a track day and track conditions were terrible. Here in Arizona, this time of year, 4,000 with a DA of 4,000 feet above sea level, it wasn't gonna happen. So I ended up taking a couple hits there with the nitrous instead, just to see what she'd do. And wow, so that didn't go that well. First hit, car bogged in second gear, or first gear, and a little bit of second, and it was sputtering. And long story short, double checked my Nitrous Express Maximizer Easy Progressive Kit unit there, and noticed that I didn't have it set correctly. Should have checked that out in my checklist. It was set for like 5 seconds, so by the time I was like close to shift point, it would hit and then bog down because my window switch would kick in and say, hey, 5500, time to shift. So that pass was a waste. Second pass, I adjusted it and I set it to I believe 1 second. And it definitely hit hard first gear, and then coming in the second gear it bogged. So I thought to myself, I need to be aggressive, either power shift this sucker or raise the tire pressure. So the ET street radials that my friend gave me, I thought in the beginning were a bit big for it. Sure enough, they were in the beginning, but the way that nitrous hit, it hits pretty hard. So with the 4 or 5 passes that I made, traction was an issue, actually, believe it or not. So as I said, it bogged in second gear, and you know, I let the car cool down and I started thinking, and I was like, you know what, let me take a third pass, and try to be a little bit more aggressive on the second gear shift, because that's where it's bogging. But off the line, it was spinning. So I said, okay, let me think about this for a second. So what I did was I actually decreased the time just to see if it would help with the second gear issue. So I set the time on the progressive switch to 1 second. Took that pass, and that pass was a waste, because waiting in line to take a pass, finally getting in there, I went to back up in the burn-up box, and I didn't have anybody guiding me or anything like that, and it was my fault. And the guy was like, all right, heat him up. So I heat him up, and it just didn't feel right, and you know, took a hit anyways. I should have taken my time. The car ended up spinning through first and second gear, and around like a 13.9 at 112 miles an hour. So even with that top speed, you know, that should be at 11-second time with a good 60. But so on the final pass, I said, you know what, the next 2 passes, actually the last pass, I'm sorry, I said she's bogging in second gear when the car was hooking, so let me change the tune a little bit. So what I decided to do was change the timing up, because typically on a 150 shot, I set up the timing on this car at like 10 degrees. And since I'm, you know, got the 175 pill kit in it, I was very conservative, because 200,000 miles, I didn't blow it up there. I just wanted to drive home under its own power. So I had it extremely conservative, set at 5 degrees. So I said, you know what, it's falling on its face. Let me bump up to 7. Well, she liked it. So last pass there, that's the thing about nitrous too, right? The last pass there I made, bottle pressure was about 900 psi. Typically I like it at about 1,000. So the bottle heater wasn't really keeping up. And I was sitting there trying to get it heated up while I was getting ready to stage and all that, but the staging lanes. But anyways, so that last pass, 7 degrees, and got a nice burnout in, but traction again, this time was the issue. No bogging at all. First gear lit up, second gear kind of lit up too, so ended up running a 13.5, or so yeah, 13.5 again, with a terrible 2.2 60 foot. So all night long, This thing's 60 at a 2.2. Well, we all know that it ain't gonna happen with that kind of 60 foot. I tried to launch aggressively, figured that the tires would hook. So, and I'm not talking aggressive, like a 6,000 RPM launch. I was roughly around, started out at 2,000 RPM, see what she did, and it still spun. Believe it or not, with these tires, it still spun. And it made me realize, yeah, that's great, it's fun, man, but it made me realize how much I miss racing how simplified the GT is that I have, that it's a C4, you just mash and go, and click, 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 you're there, you know? So with that being said, you know, while the car was just basically resting, I got to watch other people take hits and stuff with, you know, quicker cars, obviously, and it made me miss my good old GT, man. So I'm getting ready to prep this guy to run. I'll probably run it at the end of the month, or not the end of the month, middle of next month, which altitude is going to be, density altitude is going to be a lot worse by then, but she's a pretty consistent runner. A couple things I need to do, just swap the fuel lines, because the braided fuel lines on there are kind of old, and here in Arizona they go bad. You know, typically it'll go bad anywhere, because think about it, the inside of it is just rubber, right? So last year, I had the leak at the crossover line where my fuel rails are, you know, and I replaced it. So I still have the kit, the rest of the stuff to do the rest of the other lines, and I'm going to do that. It's a nice little black, basically braided line kit, so I'm going to go with that. Then I noticed a couple days ago when I went to go fill her up and just drive around, putt around, she started heating up, and thank God on my tune I have basically a setup there that once it gets to a certain temp, it'll you'll give you like 10 seconds. It'll shut down the car in 10 seconds. So it'll start sputtering a little bit because it's that hot. It doesn't want you to basically ruin the motor. So it's a safety tune that's in the car. So I pulled over, so a block away from home. Noticed it was hot, let it cool down. Finally started up and got home and noticed that, man, the coolant, what the hell happened to coolant? The car's been sitting here such a long time, man. Just in the garage, just chilling, doing its thing, man. Collecting dust on top of the car cover. Long story short, put her on jack stands and found that I had a leak in my radiator. I've had this Griffin radiator, believe it or not, since about 1998. Correct, 97, 98, because that's when I ran the VR4, Paxton VR4 setup, and I put that on there. So that's been in there that long. So anyways, when I jacked it up, I noticed a little drip. I'm like, what's this? Sure enough, I found a little hole on the radiator itself. So went ahead and ordered a new one, just to put in there. Nothing fancy. I just got one of those SVE 3-core radiators. I wasn't going to go with black, but I said this car is all themed, pretty much polished. I'll keep it polished. The car's going to have it all black. The Coupe's going to have all black set up in there. But that's that. So that's where it sits. Going to take a couple hits on this guy next month. Hope you guys have enjoyed the content of the video. If you do, like and subscribe. Hopefully this guy, I mean, the quest for this guy is definitely 9s on the GT. It's got the trap speed to do it. You know, 1040s at best, roughly 130 miles an hour. Battle with this guy's always been the 60 foot, because I haven't had much seat time in this, honestly. Did some suspension work in the rear, you know, but one thing I am contemplating on changing is going to the Team Z upper relocation arm kit. See if that helps, because I've adjusted pinion angle on this. I've tried it from -1.5 degrees to -2 degrees, and you know, still launching on this, you know, on a foot brake, there's no trans brake or anything like that. But the best 60 foot I've gotten on this, I believe, is like a 1.45, you know, after putting in a new PTC converter. So that's it. That's where that sits. I'm rambling. This guy's basically gonna sit for a while. Gonna go out there. My son's finally finding interest, because he took her around the block and was like, wow, this thing makes you feel like a badass. And I'm like, yeah, it's just an old 200,000 mile motor too. He loves the sound of it. So we're gonna build that motor on this guy. slowly but surely, as I mentioned before, going 363 on this guy. It actually may give the GT a run for its money when it's done, because I'm going 363 with about 10.5 to 1 compression ratio with nice AFR heads on there, probably the 205s, custom cam, all that. Gonna put a nice cage in it, even better cage than what I have. I mean, my GT has a maximum motorsport cage, which is only good for 10s, you know. So the cage I'm gonna go on that is actually gonna be I believe competition engineering, good for 9s. Gonna put that one in there. So at the end of the day, when his car is done, should be a quick sucker, man. Definitely gonna keep it stick for a while. Of course, keep the AC. That's the one thing I miss about that. I wish my GT had it, because, you know, it was an original Cali car. I was like, I yanked it out, didn't need that stuff there. But here it's like, oh my gosh, can't enjoy the car without AC. So, and I'm not gonna go through the hassle of going plumbing everything, and nah. So I don't drive this guy enough anyways. But that's where it sits. So we're really excited, Son and I are really excited about getting this guy going. Gonna do it right this time. I mean, not that I didn't do the GT right, but GT I took my time with the GT on the build, but I should have gone the extra mile, like, you know, like zero deck in the block and all that. I didn't do that on the GT. You know, it was at the machine shop already. I should have just been patient and haven't done it, but I didn't do that. So I'm gonna zero deck the block on the Coupe setup there. Dart SHP 4.125 block, you know, with the big bore 363 kit. As I said, roughly 10.5 to 1 compression, custom cam. I'd love to go with a higher compression ratio. A lot of guys are saying you can do it, because I'm going to plan as pump gas. But gonna do that, and this thing's gonna be a beast, you know. Naturally aspirated, should run pretty good, and then have nitrous in it to get a little extra oomph, you know. So that's where that sits. All right, as I said, hope you guys like and have been liking the content of my videos here. Like and subscribe. Stay tuned, because I'm going to be transferring over to the GT. Hopefully get this thing out there, take a couple hits, and take it from there. All right, thanks.